Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast. Remember the Pharmacy Podcast Network. I know you guys are working on letters of intent, or maybe you've just finished them. I will continue to help you as we go through what's probably going to be the latest deadline is around the 16th of January. But I have 48-hour turnaround. If you need it faster than that, I can probably do it. I just need to know when you're going to get it to me and when you are going to need it back, so I can always help you with those. But I've expanded and worked with some people to create what I call the Rockstar Residency Interview Prep and Support. And Rock and Star are two mnemonics, which I'll talk about in a minute, on how to answer specific questions. There are some foundation questions that you want to use the Rock acronym, and then there are some behavioral questions that you want to use the STAR mnemonic or acronym. So this also includes email support, which means that not only do you get to go through the course, but you can ask me questions as they kind of come to you, because some of these questions you can't ask your preceptor. If you get, a question about your school or something like that, they're always going to say good things, where I can look at the data and say, okay, well, based on your school's match rate, based on the residents at this particular site, I would actually rank them really low. Whereas this other site that maybe you didn't value as much, I would actually rank that one pretty high. So I want to make it more than just here, watch some videos, I'll give you some insight, you're done. I want it to be email support where I can answer those questions that maybe you can't ask someone else, or you just want a second opinion. Or for some people, it's just the warm fuzzy of having someone they know that they can contact and get a quick answer, usually within 24 hours. But let me walk you through the modules on the top and then some other ones that are available with it. So the first thing is going to be, how well do you match? So what you want to know is, before you get to that interview, are you at the top of their list? Are you in the middle? Or are you at the bottom? And there are very specific ways to do this, but no one teaches this. And the reason they don't is that any school that's in the bottom 50%, so you're talking about half the country, can't really say, okay, well, we don't compare, and most of our students would never be able to get a site like that. So you're not going to see these types of analyses in your classes, even if you have one of those residency preparation classes, because it just makes the school look so bad. So you want to make sure okay, well, how am I going to compare to the other candidates? And if you have a multi-candidate Zoom call, you absolutely want to find out where those guys are going to school and find out how that matches to the schools that not just the applicants from last year got in, but the actual residents. Where did they come from? Are they local? Are they regional? Are they national? And then how do you conduct a clinical match analysis? So there's going to be a core group, an elective group of rotations, a longitudinal group of rotations, staffing, and then there are other things. What are the pieces that you match to perfectly? For example, I just helped someone with a letter of intent, and I looked at the core rotations, and it was almost as if they had picked that site to pick their APPEs. They matched perfectly. And you don't want to leave it to them to make that, okay, well, they're going to look at my CV and know. No, you need to make it clear in your letter of intent, in your documents, hey, you have these, I have these, look what a great match we are. And then you can, if you want to, when you talk about weaknesses, a lot of times people look at weaknesses as something that it's more of a character thing. But your weakness might be, well, I didn't have as much pediatric background as I would like, and I know that your program has that. However, my critical care is very strong. And so when you talk about strengths and weaknesses, you can also talk about strengths and weaknesses within your CV, within your background. And what it does is, it doesn't make you weak, it makes you honest. Okay, so I show you exactly how to conduct a clinical match analysis and showing where you have the strengths, the weaknesses, and what you've done about them. And there's, you don't have to have an administrative rotation. You can have been the president of a society or a group, and that kind of counts when you come into something like a leadership rotation in residency. Understanding the interview residency interview point systems. I spend 90 minutes on this. It is the heart and soul of this, and understanding how you get scored before you got there, understanding what's going to happen on the interview day. And you can preview this for free. You can check out the interview day preview, and it'll give you, the 15-minute video on that. How do they score your actual interview? How do they score your clinical presentation? And how do they score your case presentation? And then what do the percentages usually look like? Because you would be surprised which of these three actually counts the most, and it's not the one you're thinking. And then I go into part 3, where I have these rock and star mnemonics. And the rock question and answers guide is really more about, okay, I have strengths and weaknesses. What are the things I need to do to make sure that I remember the answer to that? Yeah, you could look it up, kind of take some notes and make sure to look it up on your notes if you've already got those prepared. But there's a specific way you want to prepare them so that not only can you remember what you want to say, but you also have this kind of telephone game that you have to play where you tell them your answer. They have to clearly understand your answer and convey that answer to the residency committee, because it might be a single person who's looking at this and taking notes and needs to convey it to the RPD or needs to convey it to someone else. And then the star questions and answers. You have to be ready for those behavioral questions, those ones that are going to be like, so you have a situation, and they articulate what the situation is, and you have to tell them, okay, well, this was the situation, task, action, and response. Okay? And then I also add some more pieces there as it relates to essays that you may have to write in the interview. Okay? I've put the best of some of my podcast episodes in here, including how to earn 8 residency interviews, a wonderful interview, and kind of what to do when you have that many interviews. I have residency interviews with Brandon Dyson of TLDR Pharmacy. We spend an hour, and we are both busy dads, and we spend an hour talking about exactly how we would answer these questions, rationales, and those types of things. And then there's a couple questions that you must know the answer to just right off the top of your head. There's some residency trends and questions you have to ask the current residents to get the information you need to make your analysis. Again, the interview is not one way. Okay? And then I talk about some other interview tips. Then I talk to some insiders. So what would an RPD do? One of my students interviewed the RPD, and she ended up matching at that site. A very bold move, but an excellent result. Talking with the director of an amazing residency in Northern Virginia, and then talking to the residents that were working with him and seeing both sides of it. Also a PGY2. What's that going to be like? Not just for PGY2 applicants, but for the PGY1 applicant who's saying they want to move forward. A great hack, I hate to use that word, is to talk about the PGY2 specific rotations as a way to demonstrate that you have really done your homework. Okay? And then when you email an RPD, what are the things that you need to think about? Okay? Then when it comes to ranking, you're going to want to know where you stood. So maybe you do get a bunch of interviews, 5 interviews, and you're going to feel like they all went pretty well. Maybe there's 1 or 2 that didn't. But then you've got to be realistic. All right, well, with the College of Pharmacy I come from, and I'm out of state, or I don't really know as many people there, I don't think they're really going to rank me high. And yes, I know that all of the things will say, just go with your heart, just rank who you want, where they should be ranked. I disagree with that. I think it's pretty clear that if you look in past years that many residency sites remain homogenous. I don't really mean racially and gender and things like that, but I mean certain schools just have a huge advantage. One very, very popular residency site has half of their residents from their longitudinal, and then half of the residents are the rest of the country. So completely different ranking that I would give this site if I was in the longitudinal or if I wasn't. And then if you're looking for a community position or residency or hospital or academic, what are the things that you can do? And then I'd go through some mock interview questions. So a lot of content in here, but really the heart and soul of it is not just preparing for an interview, like I got the right answers or I've practiced, but really understanding the game, becoming a student of how someone gets from getting an interview to getting ranked high. The number one mistake I see is that students ask the wrong question. The question they ask is, how do I get an interview? That is the wrong question. The right question is, how do I get an interview where after the interview, I will be ranked high enough that we can match? There are many sites that the resident has already been decided. And it is a true tragedy, I think, that there is no early commit, because these sites would be happy to say, look, we've had a student with us for 5 months. They are fantastic. We know that we're going to be a great match with them. We would just like to do that. But that's just not how it works. So you need to know, what are the things that I can do and what do I need to look out for to make sure that I am on the inside rather than the outside, that I am getting that match invitation and getting ranked high versus getting ranked low. Okay, so again, if you need help with your letter of intent, great. But I recommend that you do this residency.teachable.com/p/interview. Go through the modules. I have over 2 hours of new content that's only here. It's not on podcasts or anything like that. And you'll have access to me as a resource. So you can say, this is how I felt about the interview. Can we kind of email back and forth a little bit and kind of give you my thoughts on these 3 sites and how I should rank them? I want to be there as a support for you, but I can't be there as a support for everyone. So again, need help with your letter of intent, residency.teachable.com/p/extreme-LOI. Need help with the interview, it's /p/interview. Either way, you can contact me at tonythepharmacist@gmail.com.